In this lesson, we look at an introduction to decimals. Now let's consider this number firstly, 527. All right, we've seen whole numbers before, where that 7 would be in the units column, the ones column, the 2 is in the tens column, and the 5 is in the hundreds column. Okay, that's not new, we've seen that plenty of times. Now, if we put something after that whole number, okay, a point, that is known as a decimal point. It separates the whole number part with a decimal part. And let's say we had a 9 and a 3 in those positions. We're going to consider those two positions. Well, that 9 is in the tenths position, tenths. And the 3 is in the hundredths position. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at today, tenths and hundredths. Now let's consider if we have one whole, and let's break it up into tenths. Okay, 10 equal parts. Now if we shade in one of them, that's 1/10. And in terms of a decimal, that is equal to 0.1. Here we have 2/10. And as a decimal, that is written 0.2. Okay, we've got 9 shaded in, so that's 9/10. That's 0.9. And a good thing to think about, when you see it's over 10, okay, when we're dealing with tenths, we have what we call one decimal place. Okay, there's just only one number after the decimal point. Alright, so that was tenths. What about if we break it up into hundredths? So, okay, broken up to hundredths. Now, how many have we shaded there? Well, let's count them by, that's 10 up there, 10, 20, and then there's another 8 there. So we have 28 hundredths, and as a decimal we write that as 0.28. Now this time there's only 6, so it's 6 hundredths, and as a decimal, 0.06. So if it's over 100, then we expect to see 2 decimal places, okay? 2 digits after that decimal point. Let's look at some examples now. What number is represented below? So in this particular one, what have we got? Well, we certainly have one whole there, so we'll write 1. And in this part of the diagram, 4/10. Now, as a decimal, let's write the 1, and the 4/10 can be written as 0.4. So, because it's over 10, we expect to see 1 decimal place. Next one. What have we got here? Well, in terms of wholes, we've got 1, 2, so let's write the 2 down. And in terms of the fraction part, well, if you counted them up, you'll find 36 out of 100, so 36 hundredths. Now, as a decimal, let's write the 2 down. It's the whole number part. The decimal part, 36 over 100, we'd write as 0.36. So again, because it's over 100, we would expect 2 decimal places.
Fractions are parts of a whole, and decimals are also parts of a whole. A number can be shown as both a decimal and a fraction. Here's a place value chart. The decimal point goes here. On the left of the decimal is where we put our whole numbers. And on the right of the decimal is where we've got our fractional parts. The first column is tenths, then we've got hundredths and thousandths, and so on. If I have a value, we can put it into the place value chart. Line up the decimal point, and then it's 1 digit per column. There is only 1 digit after the decimal point, and it's sitting in the tenths column. So 0.3 is the same as 3/10 because the 3 is in the tenths column. Easy. The digits after the decimal point become your numerator. And to find the denominator, just think through your tenths, hundredths and thousandths columns. Let's do some examples. Okay, the numerator is 7. There's only one figure after the decimal point. It's in the tenths column. 0.7 is 7/10. 0.23. This is 23 over something. Now we get the denominator. First column is tenths. Second column is hundredths. We have 23 hundredths. Here we've got 3 figures after the decimal point. We don't even really need to use a chart at all, do we? 391 is our numerator. Just name the columns to find the denominator. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. 391 over 1000. To change a decimal number into a fraction, the decimal part becomes our numerator. Our numerator is going to be 25. For the denominator, we think through our decimal place value columns. Tenths, hundredths. We have 25 hundredths.